Have you ever thought about how a normal evening could turn into a chilling murder plot? Imagine a dance floor romance that sparks love, but ends up in betrayal and tragedy. Explore the emotional story of Joseph Sonnier, where a dance lesson leads to love, and then spirals into a tragic tale of obsession and murder. Who could imagine that the very elements of passion and allure might become the triggers for a deadly vendetta? Watch as we unravel the tangled webs of love and deceit in this gripping tale. Can you guess who lurks in the shadows, watching, waiting, and plotting, driven by a jealous rage that knows no bounds? Click to uncover the chilling details in our full video, where love dances dangerously close to death, and discover what happens when romance turns fatal. Today's tale unfolds on a balmy Saturday evening in July of 2011, amidst the rhythmic sways of a dance lesson. It was here that Joseph Sonnier, a distinguished and affluent pathologist, crossed paths with Michelle T., a celebrated bachelor renowned not only in his hometown but also far beyond. Michelle reveled in a life graced with freedom, status, wealth, and the company of a charming, successful woman nearly a decade his junior. This encounter on the dance floor marked the inception of a narrative that regrettably would spiral into tragedy. In those moments, as a seemingly perfect partnership on the dance floor blossomed into a tender, fervent romance, no one could have foreseen the calamitous events that were to ensue. Prior to meeting Michelle, Joseph's life trajectory was a tapestry woven with both joy and sorrow. Born into a venerable family of doctors in Shreveport, Louisiana in 1955, Joseph harbored childhood ambitions of emulating his forebears by becoming a preeminent doctor. In pursuit of this dream, he obtained a Bachelor of Science in Medical Science from LSU in 1976 and furthered his education at Louisiana State University in Shreveport, simultaneously beginning his professional journey at Parkland Hospital in Dallas, Texas. Joseph adeptly juggled academic commitments and hospital duties, striving for excellence in his chosen field. His relentless pursuit of knowledge and skill did not go unnoticed. In his final year, he ascended to the role of chief resident. Upon completing his education, Joseph specialized in pathologic anatomy, eventually earning recognition as a respected pathologist and laboratory director in Lubbock, Texas. His personal life, however, was marred by profound loss. A marriage that spanned 27 years and was perceived by Joseph as contented dissolved when his wife fell for another man. Gracefully accepting her decision, Joseph consented to the divorce, content in the belief that his beloved had found true happiness. Known for his strong character and deep sense of duty and honor, Joseph continued to navigate life with dignity. Even after their separation, he maintained a cordial relationship with his ex-wife Becky and remained a pillar of support for their two sons. Tragedy struck again when Becky was killed by her new husband 2 years post-divorce. Devastated by the brutal demise of his former wife, Joseph was engulfed by grief yet again. He often reflected on their past life together, mourning her loss. Despite his sorrow, he steadfastly supported his family, handling all organizational aspects of Becky's funeral and aiding his sons through their ordeal. His unwavering support enabled them to cope with their profound grief. Seeking a fresh start, Joseph moved to Lubbock, Texas in 2007, taking a position as chief pathologist at Covenant Health System. In search of something to revitalize his spirit and fill the emotional void, Joseph joined a local dance studio. The dance classes were a breath of fresh air, partly because they introduced him to various women. Despite a few unsuccessful attempts at relationships with some of his dance partners, everything changed one warm summer evening with the arrival of Michelle T. Her elegance, grace, and lively humor immediately caught Joseph's eye. Her radiant smile brightened the entire room, confirming to Joseph that she was precisely what he had been searching for. Michelle, noticing the confident, respectful man skillfully navigating the dance floor, was equally intrigued. Michelle, 47, and Joseph, 57, proved to be a perfect match in dance, complementing each other's styles seamlessly. With each session, their connection deepened, When Joseph suggested they date, Michelle accepted, and a new joyous chapter began for both. Michelle's allure wasn't just superficial. Her charisma was so compelling that it led men to alter their lives drastically, even to the point of committing criminal acts under her influence. Their paths would not have crossed if not for their simultaneous efforts to start anew after past romantic turmoil. Michelle had previously resided in Amarillo, merely a couple of hours from Lubbock by car. Her decision to leave Amarillo was fueled by her desire to escape the anxiety linked to Mike Dixon, a plastic surgeon she met in 2008. The relationship began with simple flirtation and evolved into a passionate affair. Mike, despite being married, was drawn so deeply into the relationship that he hardly noticed his life changing drastically as his wife filed for divorce. Michelle, a self-sufficient former NFL executive with grown children, had never intended to marry Mike. Their affair, intended to be light and carefree, demanded more from her than she was willing to give. Frustrated by Mike's increasingly possessive behavior, Michelle ended their relationship in 2010. Yet Mike's obsession continued, prompting Michelle to move and start afresh in Lubbock, far from his overbearing presence. Joseph and his charming, vivacious companion quickly formed a connection. Their relationship blossomed into genuine love. Over time, Joseph's sons and relatives wholeheartedly embraced his new partner, delighted by his happiness. Joseph lavished her with presents, treated her to the finest restaurants and exclusive clubs in the city, and whisked her away on vacations. Once he realized he had found the woman he wanted to spend his life with, he took her to Los Angeles. Surrounded by his family, he proposed. At this point, Michelle was 47 and utterly smitten with her new beau. Her personal and social media pages brimmed with declarations of love for Joseph almost daily. Naturally, Mike Dixon, her ex, noticed these declarations. He was emotionally stunned to discover not only that Michelle was seeing someone new, but that she was openly proclaiming her love and planning to marry him. Mike realized he could not win her back, but audaciously suggested they continue meeting, even if only as lovers. Michelle unequivocally rejected this idea of a love triangle and informed Joseph about the proposition. Subsequently, the couple began to sense they were under surveillance. On one occasion, they spotted what seemed like a camera flash at their backyard window. Though they did not fully grasp the gravity of the situation and largely dismissed it. The situation escalated dramatically on July 11, 2012. A landscaper arriving to discuss renovations at Joseph's residence called emergency services after failing to get a response at the door. Noticing it was ajar, he entered, thinking Joseph might not have heard him inside. He discovered the home in chaos and a bullet hole near the entrance, a sign of a possible break-in. He cautiously proceeded further, finding Joseph's lifeless body in the garage, lying in a pool of blood with multiple stab and gunshot wounds. Fearing the attacker might still be nearby, the landscaper quickly exited and called the police. At 2:48 p.m., the police were alerted and swiftly responded. They arrived to find 57-year-old Joseph Sonnier, a pathologist, deceased. Emergency medical personnel confirmed his death at the scene. The community was in shock. Such violence was unheard of in this affluent, serene neighborhood known for its safety. Joseph was a gentle, well-respected figure with no known enemies who might want him harmed. The crime scene showed no signs of a robbery. Nothing was taken, and a shattered bottle, seemingly used as an impromptu silencer, was found. A forensic team later gathered evidence at the scene. The assailant seemed inexperienced, leaving behind significant traces, including DNA on the bottle and blood samples, which were sent for analysis. Despite thorough interviews, neighbors reported no suspicious activities, and there were no surveillance cameras near the property. An autopsy of Joseph revealed a chilling scene: 5 gunshot wounds and 11 stab wounds, hinting at a violent personal attack. The surrounding circumstances suggested this was a targeted murder, but the pressing questions of who committed the crime and their motives remained unanswered. The investigation soon turned towards those within Joseph's immediate social circle. In a detailed interview with law enforcement, Michelle, the victim's fiancée, shared alarming observations about the months leading up to the tragedy. She described a series of unsettling incidents suggesting that Joseph might have been stalked. A mysterious figure was frequently seen loitering outside Joseph's residence, peering into windows and doors. Furthermore, Michelle noted an uptick in disturbing phone calls and texts to Joseph just before his death. Police initially suspected these communications might be linked to romantic entanglements, as witnesses claimed Joseph was simultaneously involved with multiple women. When questioned, Michelle denied knowledge of any other relationships. Dr. Mike Dixon and Joseph's sons staunchly refuted the idea of their father's infidelity, asserting that such behavior was completely out of character for him. Despite these denials, the investigation pursued the theory of a jealousy-fueled crime. Under the strain of further questioning, Michelle's resolve faltered. She conceded knowing several women who could be implicated in the murder, describing how a number of Joseph's ex-partners had relentlessly shadowed him. These women, she explained, were unable to accept his impending marriage. One suspect was a persistent ex-girlfriend from Florida who continued to contact Joseph despite his commitment to Michelle. Another was a nursing colleague who frequently called and messaged him. The third was a distressed woman who had recently accused Joseph of abandoning her and their child. During the same interview, Michelle introduced a new individual into the narrative, Mike Dixon. Previously, Michelle had not linked the surveillance around their home to Mike, assuming his advances had ceased following her rejection of his romantic overtures. She had believed Mike had come to terms with her upcoming marriage and moved on, but now his name surfaced under suspicious circumstances. The police had identified a plausible suspect and approached a plastic surgeon for questioning. Mike cooperated fully with the detectives. He confessed to having been deeply in love with Michelle and had even divorced his wife to clear the path for their potential future together. He acknowledged that Michelle's refusal to reconcile had deeply affected him, but he had since moved on and was dating a much younger woman, a medical student who verified his alibi. Mike was at work during the crime and later with her, making it impossible for him to be at the scene. The investigation, however, hit a roadblock as all potential suspects, including Michelle, possessed solid alibis. Detectives explored other angles, such as financial motives or personal vendettas against the victim, but no new leads surfaced. The forensic analysis further complicated matters. The DNA found on a bottle at the crime scene did not match the victim's, and no matches were found in the police database. Just when the case seemed unsolvable, a stroke of luck changed everything. The police received a call from Paul Reynolds, an aspiring EMT from Amarillo. He reported that his roommate, Dave Shepard, had recently admitted to committing a murder in LEC before attempting suicide. Hall recounted that Dave had disclosed details of the crime that were known only to a select group of detectives, including the use of a bottle as a silencer. This revelation led the police to suspect Shepard's involvement. A tipster claimed that Shepard was merely the executor of a crime orchestrated by an unidentified doctor associated with plastic surgery. The detectives conducted a background check on Shepard, discovering his history of petty crimes and a recent theft of $30,000 from a well-known businessman. Despite no major criminal record, Shepard's profile fit the bill for someone capable of being manipulated into committing a more serious crime. Brought in for interrogation, Shepard swiftly confessed that Mike Dixon, the plastic surgeon, had hired him to carry out the murder. According to Shepard, the two had bonded over drinks at a bar, where they shared tales of their recent painful breakups. Under the influence of alcohol, their casual exchange blossomed into a sinister pact. Dixon, embittered by Michelle's rejection and impending marriage to another, had confided in Shepard and ultimately persuaded him to commit the murder. To begin with, several women were recruited with enticing offers of $11,000 each to assume the roles of mistresses and seduce Joseph. Subsequently, a fabricated letter emerged from a woman claiming she and her child had been abandoned by Joseph. Despite these allegations, Joseph's sons consistently refuted them. and Michelle remained supportive. We encourage you to engage in the conversation. What are your thoughts on the impact of jealousy and obsession in driving individuals to the brink of criminal acts? Have you ever witnessed or experienced situations where emotions spiraled out of control with severe consequences? Share your opinions and any questions you might have in the comments below. If you find my story interesting and engaging, please leave a comment with the number 1. If you feel it needs improvement, comment with the number 2. For any other feedback, please feel free to leave a comment below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more true crime stories and discussions. Stay safe and see you in the next video.